G'day guys, so welcome back to the Boomerang Biker channel. Very hot day today, or should I say reasonably hot day today. It's pushing 30. Finally got that 25k radius has been dropped, so the ring of steel as they call it, and we're now allowed to venture off into regional Victoria. So it's a great day, we're getting a bit of freedom. So today I've actually hooked up again with my great buddy Michael Hayworth, and what we're going to do is, setting off from Whittlesea, we're going to head up into Kinglake. If you haven't heard of Kinglake, that's the scene of the bushfires around about 10 years ago now. Fortunately, around about 180 people were killed in that terrible event. So heading up into the hills into Kinglake. Not sure what the altitude is, but we will feel the temperature drop slightly as we climb up the hill. Through Kinglake, actually before we get to Kinglake, we go through a place called Pheasant Creek. There's a great little cafe there called Flying Tarts, great name. From Pheasant Creek through the actual Kinglake town, and then we'll drop down the other side into Healesville. So Healesville's a great little town. Actually it's bigger than you might think. It's a real sort of tourist destination. It gets quite busy no doubt today and Sunday, especially with everybody getting that new bit of freedom. From Healesville, the plan is then to venture through the Black Spur, and we're going to take some footage through the Black Spur. The Black Spur is one of the has to be one of the best roads in Australia, certainly the ones that I'm aware of and have ridden anyway. The Black Spur is actually it's I guess you could call it a rainforest. It's down in a gully. There are a lot of very tall gum trees, and it's so dark and wet in there because of the lack of sunlight that you get a lot of native ferns growing in there. The sort of ferns that you would see if you ventured off to New Zealand. And a little bit of a segue for an info spot there. If you're not aware, if you ever see the tattoos that the Maori wear, they tend to be a spiral, and that actually comes from the fern. If you can see me on this camera here, so what happens when the fern, I guess, grows or is born, what happens is that as they get older they start to uncurl like that, and that's where the Maori shape or Maori tattoo shape comes from. So another little bit of information that I'd like to share with you today is I've had the bike now probably around about 2 months. In fact, I'm overdue for the first service and inspection by about 150 kilometers. I have actually got it booked in next Wednesday, so I might do a little video as I ride it to the store there. It's the first time going into the dealers because I had this delivered, as you know, during COVID with contactless delivery, so I never actually went into the dealers. It's the first time I'll be able to go in there and have a look around. Probably end up spending some money, as you do. One of the things that has been a problem so far, and this isn't just down to the GS, I've suffered from this in the past. Now, I used to ride a Kawasaki ZZR 1100 back in the day when they were the king of the boulevard, and I never had any problems with pins and needles, and that's because the bike bars were sort of in that sort of semi-road race position, so I always managed to get plenty of blood into my fingertips. But the problem I've got now with this bike, and I've had it with a few of my last bikes that have had that higher bar position, I get really bad pins and needles, and I just have to shake, slow down, shake my hand out, and it goes away immediately as soon as I get that blood dropping back in there. So what I've actually done is I did a bit of research online, and I bought a set of grip puppies, they're called. It's quite funny packaging. The packaging is quite funny. I'll put a picture of the packaging up. Go ahead and squeeze those puppies. Well, that's an offer you can't refuse. So what they actually do, they're like a very sort of thick neoprene, and you use some soapy water and you quite aggressively slide them onto over the top of your original grips. I have to say, this is the first ride out with them on, and it does seem to be relieving a little bit of that vibration. Plus, you're not gripping a smaller sort of diameter. You've got a bit of girth in your right hand, let's say, which is always a benefit. So it is actually, I'm just not having that problem so far with the pins and needles. Now, the other thing that I went and did just this morning, because my last pair of gloves that I bought from BMW, they were really nice, great gloves, and they should have been for about $150, but they were just too tight, and I think that was adding to the pins and needles problem. So what I went and did this morning, took a ride down to a local bike shop, and I went and bought a pair of these really sort of groovy thin road race type gloves, and to be honest, it feels like you're wearing a pair of marigolds, but we won't go into that too much. They are actually neoprene and there's no leather, so I don't know how effective they'd be if you went down the road. Yeah, but look, what's the difference? The difference is wear thick gloves that are made out of leather that will protect you if you slide down the road, or do we wear something a bit thinner that actually gives me better control of the bike? So I don't know, it's a little bit of 6 and 2 3s, as they used to say. Anyway, I've rambled on enough about that now. So you can see it's quite a nice area through here. It used to be 100 all the way up, but it is quite a bad accident black spot area, especially on a Sunday afternoon when everyone's coming home with their ski boats or their four-wheel drives or their bikes, and you do get a lot of accidents down there, or there have been. So they've dropped the speed to 80, which is, look, it's not a real big problem, is it? So a little bit further down the road here, we're going to be hanging a right. If we were to carry on, that would take you to Yea and Flowerdale. Flowerdale Hotel or Flowerdale Pub, that's a great spot for a beer on a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon. It does say hotel. In Australia we call them hotels, but quite often there isn't any accommodation. So if you're planning to go out to a hotel, always give them a bell and make sure that there is somewhere to stay. So we're going to be turning right just up here to Pheasant Creek, and then from Pheasant Creek through Kinglake, and we'll drop down into Healesville. So I've got a right turn coming up. On the left here used to be quite a substantial sized post office, but that got completely burnt out in the fires, as did a lot of properties around here. Okay, so I'm just going to sign off for a few minutes and save the battery on the front camera there, because it doesn't have a massive battery life, and then as we get down closer into Healesville through the sort of twisties, I'll turn that back on and we'll get some more footage. Okay, so just before I do that, I just want to give a shout out again to Lucas. He puts his heart and soul into these videos, and I would really encourage you to you know, hit that like button if you want me to carry on making these videos. Yeah, I need to feel like people are actually liking it, and it also drives up the stats. So if you can, wherever it is, if you can hit that little thumbs up, hit the little bell so you get a notification when I make a next video, and please do subscribe, and send me through your comments. Let me know what sort of videos you want me to make, or what sort of roads we can go on, and that will really help us out. Okay, so we'll speak to you in a few minutes. Okay, guys, if you're still with me, thanks very much for sticking around. You can see we're just dropping into Kinglake now, which is in the Murrindindi Shire. So Murrindindi is quite obviously an indigenous tribe that used to, and perhaps some might say still do, inhabit this area, certainly for something like 40,000 years. Europeans and whatnot have been out here for a couple of 100 years, so they were here first, boys. So again, dropping down into Kinglake, as I mentioned at the start of the video, this entire area was devastated by bushfires, and indeed most people that died actually died trying to drive out, trying to escape. You know, some say that they left it perhaps a touch too late, but what do you do when you're trying to defend your property? Now, I've kind of given up nodding at people on Harleys, especially if they've got those big ape hangers on, because you never get a nod back. And you know, I know that sounds a bit childish, but I think it's quite ignorant, to be honest. Yeah, I used to ride a Harley and I would nod at everybody, but I didn't wear one of those black open face, what we used to call a piss pot helmet, because you look like you've been shot out of a cannon, in my opinion. I just used to wear a black full face, or even actually had a Simpson helmet that an old friend of mine gave me in the UK, and I used to wear that, which looked quite cool. I just don't like those open face helmets. I don't feel safe, and again, they just seem to sit, unless you get an illegal one, they just seem to sit up way too high, and again, you look like you've been shot out of a cannon at a circus. Well, that's just my little whinge. Reserve the right to have a little bit of a whinge now and again, given that I'm a dual national, so that's my English side having a little bit of a whinge. So you can see the countryside. Hopefully you can see that the countryside is absolutely beautiful through here. There is a bigger, sort of faster road down into Healesville, but this is much nicer. And not that many people seem to know about this, so it tends to be reasonably quiet. Now, there's a Mad Max replica car there. Don't know if you saw that. That's one of the Interceptors. Great old movie. And a little bit of trivia for you. I grew up in the UK watching that at 15 years of age. And we moved out to Australia And where we actually live now, most of Mad Max, the first one, was filmed around that area. Some of it was at the Science Museum in the centre of Melbourne, but quite a bit of it was around our area. Especially the bit, if you remember the movie, if you've seen it, there's a bit where the goose has come off his big quacker, and somebody rocks up with a ute. He sticks it on the back of the ute to get it, you know, back to the station. Oh, look out, magpie! And then somebody, one of the other biker trash, as he calls them, throws a hubcap off a hill, and it goes through the windscreen, and he rolls over the ute. Now that was actually filmed in Mernda near the Acacia College. So yeah, pretty amazing to grow up over there and end up out here where they filmed Mad Max. So I'm just taking it nice and steady. Mike's leaving me for dead through here. He's got a sudden rush of blood to the head, but I'm not going to risk it because it's a bit shaly. So to be left for dead by a guy on a scooter could be a source of embarrassment, but I can drink him under the table, so that's my payback. Plus I'm giving you guys a running commentary. He's just concentrating on the road. I'm trying to keep this interesting, but not too interesting that I drop the bike. You might be able to see at the side of the road there just how red and dusty the dirt is here. It's that sort of ochre type redness. This, to be honest, isn't, you know, the most agile bikes. I don't want to get caught out on one of these corners. I think the scooter is a much lighter bike, and you can flick that around a bit, albeit it's like sitting on an armchair. So he's doing quite well. I'm not taking anything away from him. G'day guys. So thankfully I don't have anyone behind me pressurising me a bit. Not that that would push me to go any further. I'll just move over. If you're watching from overseas or UK, the main cause of the fatalities, I guess, apart from being a dickhead, is hitting one of these gum trees. You know, I know over in the UK they've got the dry stone walls, and I remember riding up to Rivington Barn and people getting killed there on those. Well, these are just as bad, and if the tree doesn't stop you, then there's quite a big drop off there as well. So either way, you're toast. So I have to say, these grit puppies are doing quite well. I've still got quite a bit of tingling, quite a bit of pins and needles, but not to the point that I can't actually feel the handlebars, which is what has been happening previously. There's my friend. He's waiting for the slow coach to catch up. One of the other things I'll just throw in is this flat opposing twin boxer engine. I've never had a bike like this before. I've had plenty of twins. I've had you know, V twins, the big Harley lump. I had a V Max. I've had a few V Maxes actually, which was a V4. But this thing has caught me out a few times. I've had it in too high a gear when I've been sort of turning left or right, and I've actually stalled the motor. There's just not enough revs, and it's just completely locked up the back wheel. So that's something I'm having to get used to. Whereas on, you know, your Jap bikes and your V4s, a bit of a smoother engine, and you can sort of let them, you can sort of coast through without dumping the clutch. Whereas this thing has nearly spat me off a couple of times. So lessons learned on that one. Well, I hope you agree, the countryside through here, the scenery is just incredible. It really is. Okay guys, if you're still along, you can see Mike there off in the distance. No doubt he's going to give me a bit of a sledging when we stop for coffee. But I'm happy to take it on the chin. I've got nothing to prove. It's a fantastic day today, it really is. I'm just looking down at the thermometer there on the dash, and it's just 27 degrees plus, which is just nice. And I've got all the vents open on the RST Adventure X jacket, which I have to say was quite an expensive jacket. You know, you're looking at $600 plus, I think it was free delivery, but $600. Which is quite a big ask for a jacket, but the functionality of it is pretty damn good. You know, I've got vents on the front. I'm not sure if this camera's on at the moment, but at the front, but I've got vents at the front and the back, and even up the sleeve, which is great. So on a day like this, it really does cool you down compared to the old-fashioned leather jacket. And I'll tell you another thing that is prompting me just to take my time this morning. My wife and I had to go down to the shops actually to get these. Now you see there, that's just caught me out because it's loose gravel, it's a tight bend, and you know, I don't want to get on the brakes too much and slide off. I might just cut that bit because I look like a real amateur on that bit. So guys, what I was going to say is another reason I'm sort of a little bit nervous this morning. We had a very close call with a big kangaroo this morning. Not on the bike. My wife and I were going down to the shops. We were actually in our Mustang, and we saw it jump over from the paddock, and it was on the other side of the road, but these guys are so unpredictable, so I immediately jumped onto the brakes and brought the car to a stop, which is a good job because it did a 180 and came straight back. If I hadn't have braked, it would have definitely smashed the car up. So that's left me a little bit nervous this morning. Now then, where's Mike going? Okay guys, so we're just about to enter into the Black Spur, which is one of the more famous motorcycle or driving roads in Australia. In true to form, the police were set up back there with speed cameras on a couple of bikes, and also I'm not sure if it was a camera, but also in a transit van there, because you do get a lot of accidents through here. You know, it's like the Victorian racetrack. So I'm really hoping that this video is going to come out nice. It should give you a good sense of the Black Spur. Just on the police, look, I've got no problem with the police. I kind of got mixed opinions on this, a bit like those cyclists last week. Look, there are a lot of unnecessary deaths because people don't have the skills and they take stupid chances. So you know, I'm a bit sort of undecided on that. So you can already see it's a sort of a nice windy road. Now, I was just about to say about the cops. There have been rumours in the past of the cops hiding in the bushes with camo gear and face paint with speed cameras to try and catch you out. Now I'm only doing the speed limit. I've got no intentions of going any faster, otherwise I would have bought a sports bike. The big, oh, that's a nice car. That's a Carman gear. Yeah, the big GS is, for me anyway, I find it a bit of a handful on these sorts of bends, but I'm a bit out of practice as well. I've been following Mike, you know, for an hour now, and I've tried to use his lines, and it just doesn't feel right, so I need to just pick my own lines. So one of my old mates, Andy Robinson, I'll give him a shout out, lives over there in Blighty, and his bike's probably in the garage now for winter. I'll give him a bit of a shout out. What he actually said on one of my videos in the comments was that I did quite well to do some commentary whilst concentrating. Well, a little bit of disclosure there. I'm not sure if you'll see the footage, or I might edit it out, but I nearly overcooked it on a corner about half an hour ago. So there you go, Andy. It ain't that easy. So as is always the way, we've now caught up to some traffic. That always happens in the Black Spur, especially so late in the day. You've got to get up super early to get a clear run at it. But again, I don't really have a problem with that. I didn't come to sort of hoon through it. I just want to do some nice footage. Hopefully you can see the massive gum trees, and because it's down in a valley, as I mentioned earlier, it's quite wet. I forgot what the term for that is. So there are a lot of fern trees, as you can see to my right there. They're the sorts of ferns that you would get over in New Zealand, and I know about that because I used to live in Christchurch for some time, about 20 years ago I think it was now. Beautiful place, Christchurch. I don't know what's left of it because of the the earthquakes. But a spectacular place. Not a lot going on in terms of industry and jobs. That's why a lot of Kiwis or New Zealanders migrate over to Australia. There's a lot more opportunities. But in terms of scenery, you can't really beat New Zealand. You've got a lot of mountains, you've got rainforests, impressive coastal beaches, amazing. Sadly, Australia is a bit lacking in terms of mountains. Nice Mustang going the other way, very similar to my wife's car. She has, I think it's a 2017, it's the V8, and why would you buy a V6? I just don't get that. Yeah, it's a V8 convertible GT, and I have to say it flies. I am a lot quicker in that car than I am on this bike. So there you go, look at the impressive gum trees. It really is incredible through here. It's well worth the trip out. You know, there's a lot of people come from interstate to go through this area. I'm actually glad that there is a bit of traffic, because people tend to go a bit crazy through here. So for me, this is just nice. A couple of easy riders there. You gotta look tough on a Harley. No smiling, no nodding. You just gotta look like a badass. You're probably an accountant during the week, but at the weekend he dresses up like a backpatch biker. So even down here in the sort of rainforest region that is Black Spur, it's still 26 degrees. So it's still quite a warm day, and it tends to get quite, what's the word? A little bit muggy, if you know what that means. G'day. Hopefully you can appreciate just how spectacular this road is. The problem with the GoPro is it tends to sort of flatten everything out, so you lose a lot of that. But at this sort of speed, again the speed limit says 18, we're doing 70, this is just nice. At this sort of speed you should get a real good bit of footage through the GoPro. I'm not sure if it's still running, but I did start up the little camera at the front there, because that gives a bit more interest to the videos as well. But again, just to give you a heads up of how difficult it is to do these videos, my son and I, Lucas, we sit there trying to marry up the video footage coming at me, sort of rearward, is that the right word? So anyway, this footage this way, we try and line that up obviously with the footage and off the GoPro, which is on the helmet, and obviously the audio is through the GoPro and through the helmet as well. There's one frustrated looking biker there, stuck right up that car. It really can be bad if you follow someone through here at 60, or you get stuck behind a caravan or something like that. That can be really frustrating. You know, we want to enjoy the scenery, but we want to feel like we're still moving. So again guys, I know I keep nagging on about this, but we really need some support on this channel. you know, please, if you're going to watch the video, hit that like button. It'll take you a second. Hit the subscribe. Oops. Hit the subscribe button, and that'll really boost up the stats. One of the videos that I really want to do at some stage is the Great Ocean Road. So the roads are like this, with similar sorts of gum trees on one side, but on the other side you've got the Great Ocean, the Southern Ocean actually. I think it's called the Great Australian Bight, and that then takes you down towards the 12 Apostles. There never was 12, by the way. And here's a little bit of a snippet of info. They actually used to be called the piglets, I believe, but I might be wrong. You see just how nice the road is. Quite good, the surface is good, and you know, it flows quite nicely. You don't have to be going super fast. It just feels great. This is exactly what bikes were invented for, in my opinion, and this is what I love doing on the GS. You know, I'm not trying to break any speed records. I'm not trying to get my knee down. I just want to get out there and see some of Australia. I mean, I've seen a lot of it in the last 16 years. But there's one thing to be sat in a car, or a cage as us bikers call it. There's one thing sat in a cage. There's another thing to be on a motorcycle where you can smell everything, and again, you are a touch vulnerable. So we're almost at the end of the Black Spur. You can see it's starting to get a little bit brighter, and that's because the trees are thinning out a little now. We're going to carry on up towards Buxton, and we're going to go and have a Buxton burger. But if you come through here and you get a little bit of a thirst on, then on the right hand side is the Black Spur Inn. So that's a local watering hole. And there is actually, with that place, there is accommodation. I've had friends stay there in the past. I'm not sure at the moment, given we've got the pandemic still going, but definitely, you know, out of pandemic, if there's such a thing, you can definitely stay there. So I might give Mike a little wave there, because Mike's actually set up his GoPro, or a GoPro knockoff. He's got it on the side of the bike facing towards me, so hopefully that's working and we can get the footage from him. We'll have 3 different camera angles, so that should be quite cool. And I can see my son Lucas shaking his head right now as soon as I suggest that to him. G'day, mate. So when we first bought the Mustang, going back to the Mustang, when we first bought that, we joined a sort of a Facebook group for Mustangs, and I actually came on a drive-through here, and we had in the region of 60 Mustangs all coming through here, bumper to bumper, and that was an awesome day out, So that's it. We just went past the Black Spur Inn on the right hand side, that's the end of the Black Spur. As I said, we're going to continue on to Buxton. The roads are quite boring from this sort of point onwards. Lamborghini was the one behind it. I think that was one of the Audis, the fancy Iron Man Audi. So the roads are quite boring from here. You know, we're stuck in traffic, so there's perhaps not much point sharing any more of this with you. So I'm going to say thanks again for joining myself and Mike on this ride. I hope you liked it. Like and subscribe. Drop any comments in there, and I'll see you on the next trip around. This is me, the Boomerang Biker, saying enjoy the ride and stay safe. Until next time.